Hey, welcome to the next episode of the podcast. Glad you joined us. Make sure to subscribe and also leave comments. Each week we'll put up new shows. If you're a new subscriber, check out all the past episodes as well to catch up. But we look forward to continue talking and hope you enjoy what we're hearing at this point.
Hey guys, if you're new to the YouTube channel, thanks for joining us. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and definitely hit that like button, hit the bell for the notification wherever we post it. And definitely leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. And if there's any shows or episodes you guys want us to address, leave that comment below. We look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
And this week we're going to focus on The Boys. It's the Amazon show that has gotten a lot of people excited, obviously us as well. It's finished up its second season now with its finale just yesterday for when we're recording this on a Saturday, so they usually air on a Friday. Yeah, man. I guess right off the bat, what was your thoughts? What's your thoughts overall?
I really got into the show. I mean, at first, it wasn't what I expected. And I expected, probably like everybody does, the Avengers thing, the very easy good versus evil economy that usually you have in superheroes.
There was a good versus
evil-ish. Everybody kind of has their own evil-ish about them, but I mean,
ish, but yeah,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I really just started watching it about not even a month ago, so I really liked it. And yeah, I did have a lull where I didn't catch up on it for some reasons, but no, I really liked it. I thought the cliffhanger endings for both seasons were really good, especially this one. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how next season goes.
Yeah. By the way, just those who are interested, there will be spoilers because we will be talking more in depth about the season.
Good point.
If you haven't caught any of it or even the last episode, probably have to stop now for yourselves, safety, and make sure you don't spoil any of the show. So now let's continue on. Make sure I threw that in there before we got too in depth and started giving away trailers. So, Mike, what's your thoughts? So, how'd you like at least the final episode specifically, or even just the overall season?
The season I thought was great. I think it was a good continuation. I love the angle that they put these heroes right in a different perspective, and the boys in a different perspective, like Glenn was talking about, like good versus evil kind of thing. It really flips it around when you see what kind of format they're in, and made you think about what it would be like if it was a celebrity based kind of thing. So it really portrayed that really well. I liked it a lot. I definitely want to talk about the season finale because now there's a definitely different twist to it. That's something we probably didn't expect. We were trying to figure out through the middle of the season what happened with the whole head explosion kind of thing. So that's pretty awesome.
That was the big thing throughout the whole season.
Yeah, that was.
Heads were exploding and like no one was there. And I think the episode 7, right? Episode 7 before the finale was huge in the sense that you see these supers because you figure there's got to be someone out there, a bot or someone who's basically creating these problems. And in a courtroom, all of a sudden people were exploding. Hell, even one of the supes' head was exploded as well.
Yeah.
And suddenly, you have Homelander and Stormfront wondering who the hell's doing this because it wasn't them.
Yeah.
No, it was pretty interesting to find out that the actual person who was causing it was not someone you would have expected.
Exactly.
That was surprising. Although I do have issues with it too, because I think there's a gaping hole, right? So at the beginning of the season 2, you see the CIA agent's head, first one pop, right? That's the first one to have her head pop.
Yep.
Where was the congressman who turns out to be the one? Congresswoman. Sorry, the congressperson. Whatever. I don't want to put any labels against people at this point. The congressperson who was responsible for this, in the end, we find out it's that one person. Who is the? How did she do it? I guess the question is, do you remember seeing her at all? I have to go back and watch this.
She wasn't around. That was the thing about it. So we don't know exactly where she was, where she could be, if she was hiding, whatever. They did a good job in hiding that area, so it just leaves you guessing,
right?
And where it was. So, but hearing that later on when you see that she's part of the boys helping them out go against Vought, right? She knew the entire team. She was aiding them, right? And then you find out at the end she's the one who's doing it. It's like
Right.
it's a completely different. You're absolutely right. I didn't expect her to be the one doing it as well because she was in the courtroom, right?
Right. So what's gone on is interesting is that, and it's Congresswoman Newman. That's the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Victoria.
So, yeah. What's
I
that?
don't know. Victoria? Is it
Oh, her
Victoria?
first name? Yeah, Victoria Newman. Yeah. You're right. So what's interesting is she needs to have line of sight, right? Because in the courtroom, she could do it in the courtroom because she's all the people. She could stare at them and do it. And obviously, at the end of this episode, when we finally get the big reveal that it was her who did it, the cult leader, who, by the way, Fresca, I don't know what the hell the whole thing with Fresca was.
Right?
It
must be a money. It must be like a branding thing with that.
I have no idea.
For the life of me, I couldn't figure out.
I'm sure Fresco was happy about that.
I'm sure they paid money for it. Come on, that's not like a little branding thing that they did. That's
Fresco.
I like where Edgar's like, he goes, "You want a Fresca?" No, I hate that stuff. It's horrible. The cult leader. But yeah, you saw her eyes, right? You saw her eyes show that was her utilizing her power. And so she does have to have line of sight. So that's why, to me, it's interesting. And anybody who's watched it and knows the answer can leave comments on this. But I'm still curious, how did she kill the CIA agent if she wasn't there? She had to have been hidden somewhere, which is odd because they met randomly.
They were in a not an entirely secluded area because they were in a city's area. So she could have had a line of sight somewhere. We don't know what her peripheral is and how strong that could be too. I mean, the fact that she was able to the leader through a glass, right? And then acknowledge that's possibly him. That's huge, right? From the outside.
Yeah.
So she could have had, strong, but yeah, I'd definitely like to hear what people think about where she was and how she did that.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll say one of the best scenes in episode 8 though was the beatdown Stormfront took by the three women. Yeah. So, having Maeve show up suddenly was just huge because as much as they were trying to take on Stormfront, when she came out of nowhere with her strength, just started beating it. It's like, what was it? They were all kicking the shit out of her. Piece of shit. Like that.
To her, that was pretty funny. That was awesome. Yeah. Seeing them do that to her.
Yeah, they were just kicking her ass. And I thought that was awesome. That was one of my favorite parts of the whole episode, was just watching that go down. Yeah. And the actress who played Stormfront was phenomenal during this whole season.
Yeah, he never liked her.
No, he never liked her.
And he was off about her.
Yeah. In the first episode, you see her, right, when she shows up.
Yeah.
She's like some socialite who just does everything on social media.
Yeah.
And then later on, obviously during the season, you find out who she truly is, which is interesting too.
Or her back history, where she comes from, right, and what she's
like the original. Like, is she like the
original? Yeah, she was the original. She was there for 100. She's been alive for 100 years or something, 90 years.
Immortal or something to that effect.
But she was. Remember, they were just trying to discover. They got like lead finding out who this Liberty person was, right? And they were at lady's house, and she explained, "No, Liberty's still alive. It's this person now."
Yeah.
To see that she had a massive history behind it and what her intent was and her goal was, right, was kind of interesting because she was always trying to push against Vought too in her own way, right? She was trying to push against them, like screw Vought, whatever they're saying. She was like her own little entity, if you guys remember that. She was having those rallies and saying that we need more of these things. So it really made you wonder, like, where is she coming from with all this and how is she getting Homelander to aid her and join her with this, right? It's a history in the past, but not exactly full.
I kind of wonder if there's more of a backstory with Vought in terms of, are they more white supremacists supposed to bring up a master race, and Vought or the new Vought corporation has kind of went away from the original intent. And I kind of wonder that, like, if she wants to make it into Vought should be this, not what they are, not commercialized.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think she's against Vought. I think she's against where they're at with everything right now, where it's purely about making money and not about the quote unquote master race.
I think it's an ends to a mean, right? Because think about it. It's like anything that happened in Germany at the end of the war, right? The nuclear bomb, things like that. The other countries took it, right? The U.S. took designs because German scientists were really the top scientists in the world during World War II. They were pushing, new technology, new areas of destruction and whatnot.
Yeah. No.
And so I could see where she and her scientist husband, who created it, that eventually that was taken over by a U.S. corporation. And so I don't know. So it's a great question because I'd be curious as well. And I haven't read the comics. I mean, I've read a couple here and there, so I don't have enough backstory. I'm sure there's plenty of people who know more backstory, but they're also not 100% delivering across the board from the comics to the TV series, which is good. Take some liberties. I mean, again, Stormfront was a crazy Nazi guy in the comics where they switched it to a female.
Social media.
Yeah, which is interesting. By the way, the part where you see what's her name? Billy Butcher's wife, whose name is eluding me, Becca, stabs Stormfront right in the eye.
Yeah.
So in the comics, that's one of the biggest concerns Stormfront has is losing his eyes, right? So the fact that they did that is a little bit of an Easter egg about the comment that his eyes are his biggest concern, and so she stabbing her in the eye was pretty interesting too. It's just a little knockoff there, which was cool. But I was wondering if they're going to bring Stormfront's female version into the Nazi type mentality, because that's basically what it is. And then, of course, like I said, the comics are slightly different. But needless to say, that was great. I think she did phenomenal. I'm interested to see if they keep her alive. I don't know if she'll show up in season 3 because they kind of set up Newman as the new sort of next level person to focus on.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. It's hard to say, but she isn't technically dead, it looked like, when we saw her last.
No.
Alive, flirting out
I
all
don't think they're going to phase her or anything, or just say that she died, or else they would have just killed her off already.
Yeah, I will say this. I thought so early on when you see Eggert and the cult leader talking, right? He's trying to convince him to take both the Deep and A-Train back.
Yep.
Yeah, and you see as he's the servants walk, or the butler or whatever the hell they are, was walking in with the Fresca. You see the wind kind of kick in, and A-Train's in there, right?
Yeah.
But Edgar makes the comment about, let's be honest, your people in the truth about Stormfront. If your research people did the real problem, what she really is. And so that, I wonder if he knew A-Train had snuck in and kind of planted that seed for him to go out, because he couldn't remove Stormfront directly on his own. Nope. Even though she knew she was a racist piece of shit Nazi.
Yeah.
All he could do was take advantage and get someone else to do it for him. And so I wouldn't be surprised if that was sort of a tie-in. They didn't ever make that connection, but I wouldn't be shocked if that was the long game being played there, right? So that was something I spotted as well. But what were some interesting things you guys spotted yourselves in this episode that you found pretty interesting?
Well, the overall for me, the most interesting part was the ending, right? To find out who that person was, right? Because with the boys, that was the real shocker for me. More so, I think. I mean, we did know a little bit of like Stormfront's backstory. We knew she was in the past, but to see the whole Nazi side, I mean, she was married to him, but they didn't clarify that she was a Nazi. Kind of. That's when the A-Train brought the documents for it. I mean, that I wasn't really surprised about that, because it made sense if the Germans were working with her, so it fits that era. It was just the congressperson, right? That was the ultimate shock, right, for me to see that. So I'm curious to see where they're going to angle that for her moving forward.
And for me, I mean, I think more the Nazi angle. I mean, and seeing the congressperson come up and be the villain for the next season. I mean, it's kind of the cliche thing of how a lot of these shows go, though, right? I mean, you get that builds up throughout the season to come to a conclusion, and that was with Stormfront, and then all of a sudden they kind of introduce what's going to come up next season. So I don't know if the Congresswoman, was a surprise for me as much as it's more of a setup for next season. But I think kind of seeing the whole Nazi thing and seeing that, kind of trying to bring them back into the Seven, or kind of seeing how the Seven's being splintered, because, you have everybody kind of going their, Maeve kind of going her own way, everybody kind of going their own way. I mean, we can't even talk about the Deep yet, who his character arc has been kind of,
it was pointless. He was pointless in a sense. But it was awesome just to watch the actor play the role of the Deep. It was just great. I mean, it was just comedy. That's all it was. There was no real tie-in. I think the only element it ties into, to your point, right, with the Deep, was when he went and got the video of when Queen Maeve and Homelander actually ditched the airline.
Yeah. Right.
just to use it against Homelander. Which that, by the way, was also a great part as well, because she's basically telling Homelander, you can't have your son, you can't kill Billy, you need to let him walk, or I'll show everyone. And he's like, well, I'll kill everybody you know. That's fine, but you'll now no longer be loved, which for him is the biggest thing.
Full narcissism coming out of him, right? And he had to choose which one he'd rather have, right? Crazy.
Right. No, dude, the best at the end though, I can do whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. He's at the top of a building jerking off onto the city. It was just ridiculous. Okay.
We're still wearing half his costume too.
Well, yeah, he just pulled his pants down, dude. He's not.
The same thing with the Deep in the very first episode. He just standing there, takes out his pants and just starts jerking off in front of her. It's like, okay, so this is how the show is.
Yeah.
But that leads me to a question. I mean, how much more realistic is this show versus the Avengers? I mean, is this more realistic to happen?
Oh, you mean the arrogance of superheroes in some
arrogance and the commercializing of them, and
I can't see why it can't be, especially if they're getting money and if they're being born or bred this way and they're put in this scenario based, and I don't see why not, right? There are some who probably don't want that, like you see Starlight. She didn't want to be part of that. She thought it was everything great, right, in first season. Then when she started to learn, like, this is not what I thought it was going to be, right? So there's going to be those other
the first episode.
Yeah, right. So she realized, like, it's not what I thought, right? Because this, they're really more about, their image and making films and, their other endorsements, right? They're all about making that kind of money kind of thing. So,
but even though she compromises herself constantly as well. I mean, in the end, she breaks away, even though we don't know how much she's breaking away because what's his name went to work for the Congresswoman.
So that's the thing too. We don't know, because at the end, right, you see Homelander, apologizing in front of everyone to, thanking her and saying that her and Maeve were the best people in the teams, right? Yeah. So it leads you thinking that the Seven is still together, right? That she's still going to be back, and she did mention to Huey that she's still going to go back there.
Yeah. So first off, let's talk about that. They're the Seven, but they're actually the Five.
Yeah, the Five. Right? They're not even complete. And I don't think Maeve's going to come back.
Yeah, I think they only had the Seven literally at the first episode.
Yep.
Before Translucent was caught going after Huey, right? And then eventually he died.
Taco Bell shit and just blew himself up.
Exactly.
Horrible way to die.
No, it's fucking hilarious way to die.
I love Huey's always ends up with guts all over himself.
Right? He really does.
And he made comment to that in the final episode when he goes to talk to the Congresswoman. He's like, yeah, I just get tired of having, body parts splatter all over me.
That's understandable, though. I got to agree with him on that.
Yeah. But I mean, so for me, some of the interesting parts throughout the season were one of the best scenes, obviously, was the whale scene with the boys. And that was just, you saw that coming. If you hadn't seen it, and part of it was they kind of ruined it a little bit because they gave it out as a trailer before the season started, so you kind of knew that was coming if you'd seen it.
I didn't see the trailer, so it was a surprise for me.
Yeah, it's still funny as shit no matter how you see it. Just watching him just suddenly Butcher gets his eyes just focused, kicks it into fast gear, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And the Deep's like, "Hold on, wait a minute, is he not going to slow down?" And just tears it into that poor whale, dude.
That's Butcher for you, though. That's Butcher for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was awesome. Now, I am interested to find out what happened to the girl in the mental insane asylum, or the asylum that Vought had put aside those they threw in, because she had the ability to basically crush people, similar to Newman, right? With her mind, she could just basically tear people apart. And I'm wondering if there's a limitation. Like, can the Congresswoman just go to Homelander and blow his head up? I mean, he's invulnerable. So how would that really work? Does she have the ability to do that?
I don't know if it will work on Homelander, though. That's the thing, right?
And I agree. I would have to believe.
Well, why not? I mean, on the flip side, you can also say, why wouldn't it work? I mean, it's
true.
Who's stronger? Is she?
Well, supposedly Homelander. What they've said in Storefront has said that Homelander is the strongest out of all the soups that have ever been created.
No,
right. The catch. Well, now his son is, but I mean, at least created. His son is the first one that's natural birth,
right?
Too. So without the
whole spin up on the Superman.
I'm surprised that he didn't blow out her uterus. I mean, she think about it, super
So
strength.
that's the Superman theory, right?
Yeah,
For
exactly.
Superman, was always Superman and Lois Lane was like Superman would need to take Lois off planet to a red sun, so at least their child would not have the
Or I
ability.
could go with Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
hook up with her.
Yeah, Wonder Woman.
She probably could take it. Her uterus is, bulletproof almost.
Wow.
Maybe. I don't know. But I'm curious. But the thing is with that is like the reason why I don't think she can do it to him is because they are banking on his son to be sort of. So this comes back to something I talked about with Len before we started, which is in the comics, Black Noir has sort of a different version of himself than what we've seen in this series so far. Mm-hmm. One of the thoughts was in the comics, Black Noir is a clone of Homelander. So when he takes his mask off, it's Homelander underneath, right? Everything looks the same. The problem is Black Noir is slightly stronger because that was Vought's way of making sure he could kill Homelander, and that's his only job. Is to kill Homelander if he goes crazy, which drives Black Noir crazy a bit. Is because it's not happening. He's never had a chance to do it, so he starts going crazy. That's why he starts doing this random shit, like you saw him with like the doll, plays with the doll when he kills the terrorist. But when they kind of revealed during the series that he was allergic to almond joy, so he has a nut allergy issue.
Nut allergy, yeah.
So that showed that they were already going a different direction. And then I think where they confirmed it was when the sun was suddenly turned out where Homelander couldn't hurt Stormfront with as much as he tried with his superpower or his eye beams, whatever.
Yeah.
The sun basically tore the shit out of her. I mean, he just straight up just ripped her apart with his ability. So he's clearly proven to be more powerful, to Len's point earlier. Like there is someone more powerful than Homelander, naturally born, but his powers are raw. He doesn't know them all. And so I don't know if we're even going to see him in season 3 because Butcher kind of handed him off to the CIA. And I feel like Butcher needs to be part of his life in some form to kind of keep him on the straight and narrow, always looking at supes who are bad to make sure.
Her whole dying wish of your
she did offer him, right? She did say that they're still going to be doing a secret kind of group to keep an eye on Soup. So she is going to look to lean to him and see if he's going to accept it. I'm sure he's going to, right? Because he still has that rage against what happened to Becca. So
yeah, I totally agree. But
by the way, my little laugh earlier was about a reference to Chasing Amy when you said about you have black and then underneath is a white man. Yeah.
And Jedi's the most insulting installment because Vader's beautiful black visage is sullied when he pulls off his mask to reveal a feeble, crusty old white man. They trying to tell us that deep inside we all wants to be white.
Well, isn't that true?
One of the best scenes in Chasing Amy.
One of the best scenes in Chasing Amy. Yeah.
It hit me when you were saying that. Underneath, of course, you're a white man, so what you're saying is
with Darth Vader, the blackest Nubian in the galaxy. Nubian God. Then they take off his mask, show him he's white. So basically, they're telling us, we all want to be white. Wasn't that true?
It's actually one of the best scenes ever.
One of the best scenes ever.
And so right when you said that, and underneath he's Homelander.
Well, at least in the comics, yes. In the TV series, though, I don't think he is. I think he's maybe a black actor who's playing it because when they pulled the mask up, you couldn't tell.
Yeah, his
face was all messed up still, right? So it's hard to say who he was.
Maybe he's a clone, but like you said, with the nut allergy, and that's kind of like an odd kryptonite for a Superman type person. But maybe there's a deformity about him because he is a clone, and that's why he wears a mask too.
Now, here's a question for you: do you think Newman works for Vought and is secretly Edgar knows she exists and is using her to help take out people? Because again, the cult leader got killed for no reason other than he asked, "Hey."
I'm surprised.
What's that?
Well, he has a lot of. It's clear though that the cult leader has a lot of data about Vought and their people.
Yeah,
which is why I think she works for Vought.
Well, no. Well, she is not working for Vought. She is trying to help.
Because if if she knows he could have given her information to take Vought down, it's like a cover up, right?
Yeah.
You make it seem like
No, so I think her angle is trying to control Vought, not necessarily work for them. I think she's trying to control Vought. Remember, she's helping the CIA agents to take down Vought and the Compound V.
Yeah, but that could be a cover. Again, she could be out there doing it, leading the fight for Vought. Again, Edgar's smart, right? He's the head of all Vought. He knows how to play all the angles, and he's looking at the long game. And so he could have it look like an attack's coming from one, even though she's under his control, knowing she'll. So I saw someone make a review, which was a good point about this too. I hadn't thought about this. She could be out there intentionally doing this to get people to come forward who will turn against Vought and then killing them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? Because that's her purpose. Be the front man, get people to come out who might have shit on Vought, and then take him out. That way he keeps it clean. So that's where
enemies close type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that comes back to that whole concept of her comment where the cult leader was basically like, yeah, we still have more stuff we can give you on some of these other soups, if that helps. And she's like, oh, thanks, you're great. And then she kills him. I mean, if she really wanted it to help take down Vought, she would have gotten it. She wouldn't have killed him. So that didn't make any sense to kill him unless she's supporting Vought, is my thinking.
Or wants to be able to take over Vought.
That's what I'm thinking too. So her purpose is to take over Vought. So maybe she can have all the files.
I can see that, but I can see it kind of straddling both things where she doesn't want to weaken them, but she wants to be able to take them over or
use them
for her own needs.
Yeah, that's what
like
I'm
the
thinking.
whole military aspect, making military personnel or New World Order type thing.
Yeah.
So what do you think of Queen Maeve overall for the whole season? Like, I feel like they underutilized her or didn't really put her in any good spot. And actually, I don't think in these first two seasons they've done a good job of really bringing her character forward. I mean, at least A-Train in season 1, you knew what the purpose was. He killed Huey's girlfriend in the middle of the street, and so there was vengeance.
No, it wasn't in the middle of the street.
I think she
was standing off the curb. That's how he got her. So
in the middle of the street.
She probably wasn't on the street. She was just still on the curb. But anyway, yeah.
She was on the street next to
halfway.
the curb.
He even said halfway.
Yeah, whichever was. He ran through her. But I think Maeve's angle, it was hard because the way I think they portrayed it is because she was trying to keep her distance from everyone because she was threatened she feels like she was in a position against Homelander to cover him up and to help whatever because she feels to protect her girlfriend, right? She was just doing whatever she needed to and stay out of everything else, right? That's why she was never around all the time. I think she was fearing for her life. I don't know if they're going to utilize her more in season 3 and bring her up because now she puts that threat on Homelander about exposing him.
Yeah.
Right. And because she told her, leave me and I forgot her girlfriend's name alone. Right. So she's going to try and win her back or get her back. So we'll see if she's going to be utilizing a lot more in season 3.
I think she'll definitely be, to your point, right there. I think we'll see more conflict in season 3 between those two because he knows she has that shit on him. And so he may try and find a way to get it from her so we could see more battles between those two for control since he's still technically the head of the 7.
Yeah.
Right? The most strongest.
And the most powerful.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, they're still missing 2 people. So it'll be interesting to see if they try to fill 2 more roles, what characters they'll bring in to fill the 7 out because it's not the Deep. We already heard the Deep's not going in. That was awesome at the end because this is like Scientology big time, right?
Right.
Right?
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah.
Even the book cover looked like
you full access to my bank account. Shit, so. And they're like, I don't think you fit the mold. You should probably leave. It's like, okay, all right, got it. So,
Maeve was like interesting because there's obviously a lot of backstory and a lot of that. Like in the beginning, you saw the difference between was that how Maeve was like, how Starlight was. They kind of alluded to that in the first season that there was, that like I was like you and wipe that shit off your face and that type of thing where you saw that there was a lot of that and she's kind of like doing the thing like grow up, but then you started seeing a lot more of the conflict happen as it went along. And I also were like, and I kind of noticed it more and more as the season went along because I had heard some things about like the like her drinking problem and things like that. And I don't, and you kind of read some of the things online about the comic book background and you kind of want to see them go a little deeper into it because it will give you a better understanding of the character. And I think you're right. I think they there's a lot more they could approach about her and her development as a character that I maybe not like important to the storyline, but I think just important to character development that I think that they didn't really, I think they allowed the Deep to develop a lot more than they did her, in my opinion.
Well, I don't even know if they allowed the Deep to develop. This was just like a side story that had no purpose. All it was I want to get back into the Seven, but it never happened.
Mm-hmm.
And all we did was get comedy.
But the Deep story led to the cult finding, right? And what their role is in it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It kind of opened up the whole process of the cult. So how we got the door to that and how it all tied back in and how A-Train kind of got pulled in. And then I do love how A-Train is the one when Coley's like, sorry, they went with A-Train. And he goes, Deep's like, sweet, what about me? No, they're not going with you. And A-Train's like, I'm out. Later, man. Super happy. I'm gone. And so it was funny how A-Train got pulled back in over the Deep, where before the Deep was going to be chosen over A-Train because, for whatever reason, they just felt A-Train was going to fit.
Right.
And now because of the anti-Nazi stance, it makes more sense. They bring A-Train back in because they got to show Vought is not about, white fascism, white supremacy, any of that stuff. So they have to make diversity because at this point you had nothing but white, members in the Seven outside of A-Train.
Yeah.
When you went in there, the 5 you had were all white. So they need to be more diverse to show that they're not in there. I'm curious just because, Len, you have Billy the Butcher, obviously, is your favorite character there. Clearly, is that your favorite character? Is that the guy you like the most? And honestly, I assume you like him because he fits closely to the Punisher.
In a way, I mean, I always like the characters that have to use something other than an OP power. But I mean, he's the only one who kind of, or maybe not the only one, that is, has a genuine purpose. You know what I mean? There's the idea of, I mean, think about it. We're all married. I mean, if that happened to your wife, what would you do? How would you react?
Sure,
I mean,
you'd go crazy.
Your storyline makes sense. I mean, he's not perfect, but his purpose is understandable. Where, I mean, when it comes to the superheroes, it's like, yeah, I like Starlight, but I mean, she's still in that naive type way of seeing the world, and the rest of them are imperfect characters. So I mean, I it's not that I don't like anybody else. I just think that I do gravitate more to the characters that take on the superheroes versus the superheroes themselves. So, but yeah, I think he is my favorite. Also, I like the actor. I think he's pretty funny. I think, yeah, I mean, I think his just the way he presents himself, he acts, he talks. I enjoy it. Even though, in terms of actor, I think Highlander is probably the best actor in terms of fitting this role. I mean,
you said Homelander or Highlander? For a minute there, I thought
I did say Highlander, didn't I?
Yeah,
you did Highlander. Okay, I thought I heard that.
Highlander.
Sacred Ground Highlander. In case anybody seen the original Highlander. Go on.
But yeah, no, the actor for Homelander, I think he played. I mean, in terms of actor, I think he'd be my favorite.
Yeah, he definitely pulled the character. I mean, he's trying. He wants to be seen as the good guy, but he's such a dick and mean fuck, right? And you understand why though?
Because the right way. He doesn't. Yeah. He doesn't do it. It's not like he. If you notice, like when he's trying to be nice and when he's being a dick, he's the same person almost.
Yeah,
I think that was impressive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like when he makes what was it, like when it was at the race, in season 1.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He's like, yeah, fucking assholes. Yeah. But it was like he did it so like he never changed character to me, and I think that was the impressive thing about his acting. Is always even keeled. He doesn't look angry. He just looks indifferent about everything. Yeah. Like nothing really bothers him. He's just kind of like, this is what I want, and this is how things are going to keep progressing. So, I mean, in terms of the character, I think Butcher is my favorite, but in terms of actor, definitely the Highlander.
Yep, there you go, exactly, Highlander. What about you, Mike? Was there one character you liked the most?
I definitely like Butcher. Butcher was my favorite character of all because just the way his attitude is, the way he was, the way he portrayed it. Carl Urban is an awesome actor.
Yeah.
So Carl Urban's been in a lot of roles, and he does it really, really well portraying it. And he did a good job playing Billy Butcher. His emotion behind everything, the way he led his group, his emotions that he had against Homelander. So he was one of my favorite characters on the show. Surprisingly enough, I actually liked Stormfront. I liked her character too because she brought in a different angle, different twist to the plot and whatever it was. So I definitely liked her. I would, want to see if she's going to come back and what she does, right? And what her focus is. And Homelander did mention that they have her detained or contained in some way, right? And then they didn't mention if she's killed or not.
Yeah.
So I think she did a good job in promoting a sinister twist to the boys because to the seven, because she really manipulated and controlled everything, right? And took control of Homelander. So she did a good job of that. I do have to say on a side note, though, I think I've said this before, but I think Carl Urban would portray Bruce Wayne Batman really well if it came down to it. I could see that.
That's true. He could end up playing. He could play, Bruce Wayne's father in the whole Flashpoint scenario where Bruce Wayne was killed, and he played. I could see him being more the father.
Okay. Some shape or form, I could see him portraying that, right?
I think the way he plays Billy Butcher so well, that fits more with Bruce Wayne's father in that Flashpoint series where Batman's not around because he was Bruce was killed, and instead now his father is the one who becomes the Batman and is just straight up killing people. Doesn't care. He's just so pissed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think there's other characters other than Batman that I would see him portraying.
Now, what I liked was did you find it humorous? Because we talk about Carl Urban, and obviously he was in the Lord of the Rings movies, and his father in this Boys series was the actor who played the steward of Gondor in Lord of the Rings as well.
Yeah.
Whose name I think is John Noble was the actor. So he was the one who played. I thought that was funny. I thought that was funny that he was Butcher's father. He was basically Butcher has become his father, and so I don't think Butcher's ever been anything than what we see him today. I think his wife Becca helped kind of calm him down, but what you're seeing has always been his place. And I think the other interesting thing about him was that he had a brother Lenny who ended up dying when he was young, and Lenny was, and it was interesting because the aunt in one of the episodes talks about how Huey reminds her of Lenny, and that for Butcher, Huey or Lenny was always the one who could get Butcher to calm down, like to stay focused without going over the edge completely. Yeah. And so that's what Huey's role turned out to be, was sort of that center point for Butcher. So you can see Butcher start to realize he reminds him a lot of Lenny. So he treated him like a young brother that he wanted to take care of him. Like when he got shot, instantly gave up on everything else, ditched the whole team, and left with Starlight so that they could get him to safety, which is kind of unusual for him to be that caring. Yeah. But even Starlight makes, and Butcher are both talking about on the car ride there while he's unconscious. Like, he's such a good guy. We don't deserve him, right? Because he cares about.
He was in the hospital when they said that.
Yeah. And they're like, he's such a good guy. We just don't deserve him. And so, and they both have different opinions. But I think for me, the best character, Butcher was great, and Homelander. It's a toss up because they're both the antagonists between each other, right? They're constantly going against each other in some form. I think the cast as a whole was great. I think, the season's been fantastic. I know they said the season 3 is already going to be set, so that's good. Yeah. But I love Stormfront. I think the actress was phenomenal in what she did. She was just great job, great add to the cast. I'm looking forward to seeing who they add in the next season as far as to replace the missing 2 for the 7. Yeah. I'm interested to see, obviously, again, they left, to your point earlier, right? There were a lot of good cliffhangers. Season 1, the cliffhanger was, Butcher was brought before his wife and son, and so didn't know they were alive and left it at that. Mm-hmm. And now, 2, we find out the Congresswoman is the one who's exploding everybody's head. So, and Huey's gone to work for her, unbeknownst to him that she's the one. So, once again, Huey's getting tied to someone that he's going to find out more about in season 3, I'm sure. And he said he was breaking, the boys have basically disbanded to some degree at this point. Yeah. But really they'll come back and she'll be part of the reason why. And I think, we'll see some new soups, but it's a great show, man. I'm bummed it's only 8 episodes. You'd want more. but I mean, I don't feel like they like other than Queen Maeve and the Deep, who I didn't feel like were given enough or at least enough context. Again, you're right. The Deep kind of leads us to the cult, which ended up leading to this point. So there is some connection there. But I'm curious, are they ever going to put the Deep back in the 7? If not, is he always going to be that side comedy role, storyline that we're just going to see? And Maeve, I would love to see more done with her, to see how strong she is. Again, she's not stronger than Homelander, but when she was pissed in one episode and just friggin' chucked the table, she was so mad. That was, that was a good show of kind of her abilities too. So it's interesting to see. But yeah, it's a great show, man.
Huey's dad come back. Simon Pegg is one of my favorite actors. So
Yeah, he didn't show up at all this season.
Oh yeah, he was only in the first. The last time I remember seeing him was when
he had a little cameo in the season. Remember when they were being brought to the CIA for cover?
That was the end of season 1 though.
Season 1, yeah.
Season 1.
Season 1. Season 1 was when they got taken by the CIA to go cover. You never see him in season 2 at all.
Yeah.
And even the wife and children of what's his name? The other mother, right?
Yeah.
You only see them literally at the end. He finally gets to see, and it's just his daughter. You don't even see the mother, the actress for that. Which is interesting. Huey didn't get to go see his father. I was surprised by that. I thought maybe based on that scene, we'd see Huey see his father. So now that all the charges were dropped, I love how the director's like, all the charges have been dropped, even the ones that were legitimate. I guess.
Right.
You're free to go. We have a subtask we're going to need. You want to do it? And he walks off. But yeah,
I was kind of hearing him having a American accent was funny. It was really weird to hear him say that. But that was just a little side thing that I thought of.
Who's that for the American?
Hearing him have an American accent and not have his normal British accent.
Who?
Oh.
Dude, I'm not repeating it. Forget it. If you didn't hear it, just
wow.
I refuse to. Anyway, I think I'm going to look for the comics though. Does anybody know how far along the comics are compared to the series?
Oh yeah, much further along. They've been going for a while. But there's going to be differences, right? Like you said,
I just want to see what the differences are. It's like Harry Potter and Game of Thrones. The dumbest ending of all time because they didn't have source material. That's what I worry about. I worry about, is this going to go to the point where they run out of source material and they come up with the worst final season of all time? Right, Mike?
You have too much expectations.
Well, the good thing is there's no end. The comics have plenty, and you can continue down that path. And my thing is with streaming services nowadays, Netflix is a great example. They cancel series like after 3-4 seasons. Some don't even make it past 1. So curious to see how far Amazon's going to go with this. As great as it is, and it's phenomenal. I mean, I could see it go for years. You're only going to go so long. So there's a good chance they could go. My guess is probably 4.
Maybe like The Walking Dead. Not like The Walking Dead that uses source material from the comics and now has a 3rd spinoff. You know that? Did you see that they have a spinoff?
They lost me in The Walking Dead by season 9.
Yeah,
right where they
was too, and I just felt like I just dropped off.
Yeah. I mean, I never got into the what was the first spinoff of Walking Dead?
Oh,
Fear of the Walking Dead or something like that.
Fear of the Walking Dead.
Talk about the beginning of it. Yep.
I think it's got infinite number of spinoffs. Night of the Walking Dead, the European Vacation.
Yeah.
European Vacation. What the hell is that? I will say this: one of the things with The Walking Dead I did like was when they finally gave you that. The original thought was if you get bit, that's how you get the transmission, and that's how you become one of those zombies and whatnot. And then it turns out that was not the case. Everybody basically is infected. When you die, that's when you turn. So you got to take them out from there. I mean, we could spend days talking about what's the best zombie movie out there or zombie rendition of shows, right? Because you have World War Z, where the zombies are straight up runners. So that's scary as shit because now they're not. Then you have Walking Dead, where they're literally walking dead. It should not be hard to get away from them all.
I'm sorry, fucking
I
rednecks
don't
and
hear them, dude. I mean, come on. I'm always surprised when someone gets surprised. Oh, it's like, dude, they're making noise the whole time they're walking. How can you not hear them?
No.
it takes them like 20 minutes to get to you. It's like, well, going back to Simon Pegg, when the zombie movie that he did, they're like the one zombie's walking towards them, and they're doing,
Sean,
yeah.
Yeah.
The song, that's how you envision it. It's like they're walking slowly, and it's like you have time to make a joke about it because of how slowly they're walking.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Zombieland, right? Zombieland's another example of where they do run not as fast as World War Z, though, by any means. That one's probably the worst case scenario of zombies, World War Z, when they're like stacking on top of each other to make a human zombie wall just to get up and over and attack.
That shit goes too much.
Zombieland was just great humor. I mean, especially at the end of Zombieland's first movie with the clown.
My God.
That's just awesome, dude.
Period. Okay, spoiler alert, when Murray died.
Dude, that movie's been out for almost 10 years. If you haven't seen Zombieland by now, I'm not going to worry about it.
Zombieland wasn't all that great.
I liked it, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to beat the original. I agree. You have to try and keep up with it. But it's funny. The actors like, I'm fine with doing it every 10 years. Like in another 10 years, do Zombieland 3. So you always see the progression of them over time. Like, yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, in the end, so going back to the boys, though, one of your question I never had a chance to respond to that too is like, do we think that like is this the Avengers versus the boys? Like, which one do we think is more realistic?
Mm-hmm.
I think, Mike, to your point, right? It's more of I think just raised how you feel yourself, and it's going to come down to how you're raised as well, right? Because if you're told you're the most important thing out there, like Stormfront saying you're the most powerful, you're going to lead this generation. That will give them the ego and arrogance that they'll create. Whereas in the Avengers, they're always thoughtful about who they are, their powers. That whole, Spider-Man's Uncle Ben, with power comes great responsibility. So it's one of those things where, the Avengers and Marvel in general, Marvel's always been a more lighter side. So I guess the question is, if people really had superhero powers, yeah, we'd see more of like what we see with the boys, I think. There'd be to, depending on their strength, to feel like they could dominate the world versus those who are actually caring and trying to help those.
Because I would say look at actors and athletes that they do act like they're better, or they're very judgmental. They see the world from their view. And yeah, you could say that they're raised, but all of a sudden when you have, a singer or, the diva singer or these athletes, their world changes. I mean, when you look at professional athletes, like, even ones that you look at in a positive light, they're being praised like gods almost. Now imagine actually having the power of a god, because essentially, you're like a demigod if you're a superhero. I mean, that's like,
but not every actor and athlete acts like that, right? There's a good portion of them that doesn't, right? So it really
depends where at least balance,
are more
right, and who's like that, right? You have some people, like, if you want to use an example, like Kawhi Leonard, who's just a quiet guy, just like, I'm just here to play basketball. I'm not all about that stuff, right?
I agree, and I wouldn't say all of them, but I mean, first of all, I would say it's only the superstars. I wouldn't say 95% of the athletes in a given field wouldn't fall underneath that. We're looking at, I mean, if you're comparing them to superheroes, you're talking about, you have somebody like a Mariah Carey or something like that who, goes off because, the thread count is, not 3,000 compared to 2,400 or something stupid like that, right? And then you have somebody like a Will Smith, who's a superstar in that light, who doesn't come off as somebody who would be like that. But I just think that when you just see how people are in general, I mean, with money, with fame, and I think that more often than not, though, when you're talking about superheroes, like a Seven, like the elite, the top range of superheroes, that I would see them more often go like that. Or even the mix you see, like Starlight, she would be, like you said, the Kawhi Leonard of the group. But then you see the other ones probably fit more into the realm of, of how people would normally act, like taking advantage of things, or they're maybe having your insecurities about certain things, like the Deep, the whole thing with its gills, right? You have that, and then how does that change you? Like, you grew up, self-conscious about something, then all of a sudden you have this power, and how do you actually utilize it? And then when you're given millions and millions of dollars, again, I think it's
I think that's where this show comes in. Gives us definitely a different point of view, right? And I liked why in the 7 it's a spin off DC's characters in a sense, right? It's a little bit more darker and sinister, but if you look at DC films, a little bit more darker in a sense, right? There is a little bit more realistic version of them compared to Marvel, and I like where the 7 went with that angle. Like, well, let's take it even deeper, so to speak, right? And take him to that level. They're humans, but they got emotions. You can see Maeve, who's struggling with her own little demons, right? Everyone as a soup has their own little personal demons and what they're going through. So I really like that portrayal. So to answer that question, yeah, they're definitely more the Boys series, and if it had to tie into DC, the more realism behind it. I can see more of that happening in real life if it came to be compared to Marvel.
Here's a quick question for you. Out of all, and this one's hard to answer if you can't think about it, but I want a quick answer. If you had to choose any character, superhero that you'd want to be, right, power-wise and whatnot, out of all, right, DC, The Boys, Watchmen, Marvel, whatever, which one would you want?
Superman.
Superman? Okay. What about you, Len?
I don't know.
I'm going to say Dr. Manhattan.
I was going to say, you want to say like Superman, but in the end, he's not the most powerful. He's not even close to being the most powerful. I mean, somebody with, like, even, Doctor Strange would be stronger than him, right?
Well, his power is almost.
I don't know if Doctor Strange is more powerful.
Well, man, always the thing he tests his limits all the time, so we don't know what his limits is fully, right? A lot of times he holds back because he's trained that way.
Yeah.
Someone else more powerful, he doesn't really have to hold back more, and that gets tested then even more so.
I'm just going.
Manhattan can literally make people disappear and build things in general.
You want to walk around just in underwear, right?
Yeah, I'd put underwear on though. I wouldn't run around with everything hanging out there. I don't
just
care.
Wind.
Yeah. I mean, it exists in the future and in the past. Variations of them can exist in multiple locations in different times. I mean, to me. Yeah. I love Superman, again, power-wise, but I think Dr. Manhattan would be just crazy if he existed here. So, anyway, sweet.
It's hard for me, though, because I always have that, I have that issue with the OP superhero, so.
Fine, be the Punisher, Len. I mean, just go out there with
I support you, buddy.
Yeah, I'll pick Batman just because, he has, the money. Punisher really doesn't.
Well, there you go. Smart. Money wins, right? Especially in the world we live in. Look at the book.
There we go. There you go. Exactly. Sweet. All right. Well, great show. I enjoyed it. Thanks again to everyone who is listening. Hope you enjoyed this week's conversation on The Boys. If you haven't seen it, once again, check it out. It's a great series. It is on Amazon. I'm sure you can find streaming services if you can't get it there. But yeah, check it out. And we'll be back next week. So have fun. Have a good week.
Later, guys.
Later.
That's kind of scary.
So scary.
All right, look, Mike.
You guys want to work, Glenn? Let's see it. Go. This is your time to shine.
Yeah, time to shine, dude. Beer.
And Mike, you gotta do your eyebrow. You gotta take off your hat and do your eyebrow.
No, do my eyebrow.
What do you have to do your eyebrow? That was a little extreme. What do you mean?